Greetings, everyone. My name is Etterville, and I welcome you all to my Let's Play of Super Mega Man 2, a Mega Man fan game developed by M3HDI00, or now known as -1 of Game Jolt. This is the second of the Super Mega Man trilogy of games. I wanted to play the first one just to see how it worked, but I couldn't find it online. And I wanted to play this before the third, as the transition between the second and third really illustrated how much the developer learned from their mistakes, as this game is quite rough along many edges. Anyways, we get started immediately. Proto Man states that he's going on vacation and for Mega Man not to go after Dr. Wily. Alright, use the arrow keys to move, press C to jump. By the way, there's no options menu, we just go directly into the game or just load a save. X to shoot. And because of this, you have to use things like Joy to key or X patter or similar in order to remap keys. Otherwise, they're all set to be Z, X, and arrow keys, which is generally what the defaults I set to in other Mega Man fan games. I do like this introduction as it illustrates what the main moves Mega Man has. He has the Buster Shot, and he can slide around, just like in Mega Man 3, and there's even the option of pressing F1 to learn more about the features. I do like this intro state as it introduces the base elements of this game in a relatively safe environment, and the enemies do very little to no damage and they're very easy to take care of. Alright, here's Dr. Wily, and we have our first boss. Basically a oversized stomper who, well, yeah, who falls very easily, so that was the first boss. And that'll be a general theme among this game. Anyways, we have the 8 robot masters of this game. We have Jolt Man, Spirit Man, Ember Man, Psych Man, Hurricane Man, Warp Man, Sludge Man, and Feather Man. As you may have noticed, the mug shots of each of the robot masters are a little bit, well, they vary from relatively decent to in quality. This will be a common theme for this game, where some of the design decisions and choices in engine and physics are going to be a bit odd. And another note is that you can't use your keyboard in order to access the levels, so you have to use your mouse for that. And another thing I didn't really show off in the intro state is that the physics of this game are a little bit odd. It feels like Mega Man can move and jump twice as far, and the same applies for sliding, so it can result in his jumps being kind of harder to control. So we have to be a bit careful while running. Anyways, here's Spirit Man's stage. And oddly enough, we switched from an 8-bit music aesthetic to a 16-bit one, with Shade Man's theme from Mega Man 7. Another series of odd choices. The physics are a little bit strange, as you may have noticed, but they're at least workable. At least they act very consistently. But if you're running, if you don't press the jump button in time, well, you can easily walk off cliffs. Which I did do a lot in my practice runs. Also, for some reason, the invincibility knockback is much lower than before. And this is quite advantageous, as you'll notice in the boss fights. Another notice is that most of the enemies, or pretty much all of the enemies, have very little invincibility frames. Scratch that, they have no invincibility frames. So you can easily mow them down if you repeatedly use your Buster Shots, or you use one of your special weapons. Too bad there is no ability to charge up. Although in this game, with no invincibility frames, or the lack of them, charge shots won't be that useful. I mean, if you can just time it correctly, you can just smash right through them. And yeah, for some reason while I was doing this jump, I thought I could make it directly, but due to my very high jump, I couldn't exactly get through there. But I got there. There's an odd stage intro there. We know it's Dr. Wily after all. And we're immediately taken to the boss fight. Here's Spirit Man. Okay, first he'll spin around and he'll throw his spirit boomerang after that. Then he'll bounce around the room again to the other side. He'll throw another spirit boomerang. Bounce around the room. And then he'll summon this Mecha Dragon Ghost, which will circle around the room. So make sure to stay away from the center part of the room. Go to the left side. And then he'll repeat his pattern. This is basically true for all the boss fights of the game, as they follow a relatively strict pattern set. They don't randomize their attacks. So once you learn the pattern, it's very easy to replicate it. And yes, just like the enemies, bosses do not have any invincibility frames, so you can easily mow them down. In fact, if I just stayed right next to Spirit Man, or if the boss didn't really move, well, I could have easily mowed him down. You'll see this in the next part when I fight him with his weakness. Now time to go to Ember Man. most of the bosses in this game are actually relatively pushovers, so I'll just go through the bosses in clockwise order. And by defeating the boss, we get the Spirit Boomerang. Actually, the weapons aren't named in this game, so I'm just going to assign names to them. For this sake, I'll be calling it the Spirit Boomerang, mainly because it was taken from Spirit Man, and it acts like a boomerang. It deals quite a bit of damage to foes. If it doesn't hit a foe, it'll ricochet around and try homing in back on you. And it can also pick up any item, even E-tanks and life-ups. Of course, you can use it creatively like this, where you can hit these enemies behind shields. Unfortunately, if there's one Spirit Boomerang on the field already, you can't fire another one, so that can be quite annoying to deal with. Here's the first mini-boss. This is actually the only real difficult mini-boss. The only weak point of this is the chainsaw in the back. So in order to destroy it, you have to repeatedly hit it while avoid getting hit. So I decided just to spam my Spirit Boomerang to destroy it. As a Spirit Boomerang, individual shot does more damage than my Buster Pellets. However, if the Spirit Boomerang doesn't get destroyed, you have to wait until it gets absorbed back by Mega Man, otherwise, well, you can't do anything else. Oddly enough, even if you access the weapon menu, you cannot switch weapons until you get back out of the special weapon menu and use the A and S keys. That was mentioned in the instructions, but not really mentioned in the game itself, which was kind of unfortunate. And here's Ember Man. He jumps around with that giant flamethrower and then, after a while, releases an rain of embers. And of course, just like the other boss before him, he has no invincibility frames, so as long as you can dodge his shots, he's relatively easy to deal with. If you're going to get hit, take a hit from the Ember Rain, it deals much less damage. Anyways, with Ember Man down, time to go after Sludge Man. And as you may have noticed, well, the stages of this game are really short. So short, in fact, that there's no checkpoints in these stages other than just before the bosses. So if you die, you're kicked right out of the stage and back to the level select screen, unless you got to the boss room. Here's where I collect this E-tank using the Spirit Boomerang. And by defeating Ember Man, we got the Ember Rain, which I'll be showing off soon enough. And yeah, these propeller cannons are quite annoying to deal with because even though they go up and down quite a bit, as they keep going up and down, they rapidly increase their speed, so they become harder and harder to deal with. And you really don't want to get hit by them while you're trying to jump over those pits. That just spells instant death. Also, funny enough, those clouds are actually spelling out the arrows and words. Here's how the Ember Rain goes. It's similar to how the Rain Flush works, although unlike the Rain Flush, which creates an entire acid rain filled screen, this one will drop a rain of embers from the top. They do deal quite a bit of damage, but you need to time it correctly so that the enemies get hit by it multiple times. Otherwise, it's quite weak. I would say it's one of the worst weapons of this game, and really shouldn't be used outside of weakness affiliations. Also, nice high symbol. And yeah, I know I can use a Spirit Boomerang to get the life up over there, but I need to aim it in such a way that it would be possible, but I wasn't able to do that. Otherwise, the level layouts of this game are relatively straightforward, and not that difficult to deal with. They're actually quite tame, barring some areas. Out of the 8 main stages, I would say the Sludge Man and Feather Man stages are the most difficult, due to the abundance of all those bottomless pits and jumps over clouds. Okay, here's Sludge Man. What Sludge Man does, he moves around the room in a figure-8 pattern similar to the Dr. Wily alien fight at the end of Mega Man 2, and after a while he fires these psychic waves. Of course, what makes him so easy to deal with is that your Buster Shots deal 2 points of damage to him. I would think that only 1 point of damage would be good enough, but no, with 2, you can easily destroy him. With Sludge Man down, it's time to go on to Hurricane Man stage. Yeah, in this first part, I'll be going after all 8 Robot Masters. The stages are so short that, well, I can do that. And by defeating Sludge Man, we get the Psychic Waves. It fires those 2 pink projectiles that Sludge Man was doing earlier, and they bounce around the room. Now, if those projectiles aren't destroyed, you can't fire another Psychic Wave. You must wait until they're all destroyed. So I like to use it like a shotgun weapon, like here. And that makes it quite awesome to deal with a lot of these foes, especially considering you can rapid fire. Also, another note of this game that you may have noticed is that there's no weapon energy bar on the left. Oh sure, Mega Man's sprite changes color to indicate which weapon he has equipped, but unless you open up the weapon select screen, you won't see how much weapon energy is left. Even then, the weapon energy select screen is kind of glitched, and it only shows it for one weapon. Oh yeah, and this is kind of a bad move of the designer. Yeah, the reason why I was jumping like that, and, well, this boss shows up, is that at the bottom, yep, there were death spikes there. This caught me several times during my test runs. The screen didn't scroll downwards as it was locked, and it only unlocked itself after defeating the mini-boss. So yeah, that's why, but in order to trigger the mini-boss, you have to go slightly over those spikes. So yeah, you have to go over the spikes and go left. As I was saying earlier, the special weapon energy menu is kind of glitched as it only shows the special weapon energy of one weapon. So for all intents and purposes of this game, you have infinite weapon energy. Well, when I was playing I never really ran out of weapon energy, and I never saw any weapon energy drops, so for all intents and purposes, go on ahead and spam your special weapons. This was fixed in the sequel. Here's Hurricane Man. He alternates between firing hurricanes when he's on the top downwards, and firing hurricanes upwards when he's down. And this in the previous room takes place in a tornado, so be careful so you don't skewer yourself on the spikes. Although the tornadoes spin you around in a circle, so they're not as deadly as just directly pulling you left to right. Okay, on to Warp Man stage. Oh, and by the way, by defeating Hurricane Man, we got the Hurricane Burst. Well, I call it the Hurricane Burst. It fires like the air shooter from Mega Man 2, but instead of just firing upwards, or directly upwards in a diagonal pattern, instead it acts like a second jump. aka whenever you use it and you're jumping, it'll act as a slight boost to your jumping height. So you can use it if you're not sure about some of the jumps you can make. It's only a slight boost though, so be on your guard while using it. And it helps, especially as we don't have Rush. Yeah, we don't have Rush Coil or Rush Jet in this game, so this, the Hurricane Burst, and the weapon we'll get from defeating Warp Man will be useful for traversing these stages more safely and faster. Especially this weapon that we'll get next, as I think it's quite a boon for speedrunners. You'll see in a moment. And another glitch you saw is that when you get hit, Mega Man switches to his original palette. Yeah, one of the many other glitches and oddities of the Super Mega Man 2. This feels kind of like a work in progress for a Mega Man fan game. -1 really improved, I keep saying it, but -1 really improved this game in a sequel, Super Mega Man 3. I wanted to show Super Mega Man 1 to show how bad it was, but I couldn't really find the game itself. I think I found some videos, but no luck here. In fact, you can't even download the game from Yo-Yo Games anymore because Yo-Yo Games removed their sandbox, at the current date at least. Which is unfortunate. But if I were to recommend, I wouldn't recommend this game. There are too many design oddities and much better Mega Man fan games you can play as. Hello Bass. Or Bass, sorry. Then that was the other oddity. We had a text description from Bass right in the stage, but for the rest of them, the rest of the dialogue boxes come on using the dialogue boxes built in from Yo-Yo Games. From Game Maker, and those come up outside the window. Anyway, here's Warp Man. What he does is he goes to one side of the room, fires a warp shot, which creates a clone of him, and he slowly teleports to the other side of the screen. Be warned though, when that warp shot hits the left or right part of the screen, it releases a spread of those 4 bullets. Just slide under them to avoid getting hit. And that's it. Yeah, that's that. Anyways, let's go after Sludge Man now. Oh yeah, and by defeating Warp Man, we get the warp shot. There are no special weapon introductions or how to show them, so yeah. The warp shot, the way it works is that, as long as it doesn't hit an enemy, if it hits a wall or obstruction, it'll teleport you immediately there. This is really powerful for speedrunners, as you can just skip entire obstacles as long as it hits a wall, as you see right here. Combined with the near limitless or limitless weapon energy, yeah, you can skip a lot of parts of levels. If you had the ability to fire the warp shot upwards, this would become a better rush coil, basically. Too bad you can only fire horizontally. Still, it's very powerful, regardless. And here's Sludge Man's stage, which is in a sewer or whatever. Oh, and we have our first encounter with this blue enemy. It looks like a blue recolored version of, well, Proto Man. We do not figure out who this character is until Super Mega Man 3, so for now on I'll just call him Blue Breakman. But he'll be much more important in the plot in the sequel. Essentially, he fights similar to Proto Man, but in this case he doesn't fire a string of three bullets at a time. After a while of jumping or moving, he'll then fire a fire shot. And rinse and repeat. Yeah, this game doesn't really have that much randomization, so everything follows almost a strict pattern, so that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, you saw the glitched weapon screen. It only shows my life total, so... And considering there's no weapon drops, I would say it's limitless, or nearly limitless. In my experience, limitless, because I never ran out of weapon energy anyway, so yeah. And also the music choices for the levels are kind of strange. Over here we have Snake Man's theme for the stage, which I don't know if it really fits. And you saw earlier what happened when we had the Shade Man's theme from Mega Man 7, which was the 16-bit version, not the 8-bit remix version, in the stage, instead of an 8-bit re-edition, and now all these are 8-bit. Anyway, here's Sludge Man. Sludge Man attacks first by throwing these 3 Sludge Bombs, and after throwing those 3 Sludge Bombs, he races over to the other part of the screen. Rinse and repeat. Discharge the bombs by jumping over them or sliding and jump over his bottom movement, and, well, he's easy to destroy. Anyways, 2 left, let's go after Featherman. And yeah, out of the bunch of 8 Robot Masters, Featherman is the toughest to deal with. The reason for that is because of these pandas, and more so for the second part of the stage. This is taking place over a lot of bottomless pits in the air, so it instantly makes it more difficult than Psych Man's stage. I mean Hurricane Man's stage. You'll see in a moment what I mean by that. These stages, this segment isn't too bad, but the one after it, well, you'll see in a moment why I find this stage to be so difficult, and it killed so many of my test runs. Here's the Sludge Bomb in action. We got it from defeating Sludge Man. As long as it hits the ground, it'll create a constant explosion. If it hits an enemy directly, for some reason it doesn't actually cause an explosion, so that's kind of annoying. Oh, this segment. This is the segment I was referring to why I find this stage to be so challenging. Yeah, it's not too bad now, but when we get over the segment where we have to jump over a lot of these, yeah. Also the fact that we have these tellies and these clouds aren't really centered properly. So as you may notice, Mega Man jostles a little bit to the left or right when the cloud reaches the end of its pathway. This killed me 3 times during my test runs, so yeah. Be careful of that. Even then, this isn't too bad. Here's a free E-Tank. I'm not gonna risk it, so I'll just use the Spirit Boomerang to get it. Assuming I can actually jump back up there. And unfortunately I get it stuck right in the platform. And I can't figure out how to get it back out, so yeah, I abandoned it. Although in this game there's a shop, so you can use the bolts you get to buy more E-Tanks. Although in this game E-Tanks aren't really that necessary considering the penalty of death is so low anyway. But the hardest segment is coming right up. Yeah, that's also a large bolt pickup, I believe. At first I thought that was a life and weapon energy, but no, it's bolts. Although I didn't really dabble with the shop that much, as I didn't really find much use for it. This game is easy enough. Even with all the cheap deaths that can happen due to glitches and other stage oddities, this game is so easy that it's not too frustrating to get lost or lose. Oh, this was the hard segment I was talking about. Note the fact that when they're moving right, they move at half the speed they move left, so yeah, if they change direction while you're jumping, yeah, it can kill you right, it can catch you right off guard and shunt you into the pit. Which did happen to me. Yeah, I died almost all the ways possible in this stage. Here's Feather Man, and you can actually attack him while he's transitioning inwards. Okay, he fires those 3 sets of feather shots, which bounce around once, and then he flies around the other side of the room. Just keep mashing your Mega Buster, and he'll fall. Anyways, last but not least, it's time to go after Jolt Man. And Jolt Man, I would say, is the second or third easiest stage to go through. And now we have Elect Man's stage gimmicks and team. Although we have smooth upward scrolling. And here's the Feather Shot. The Feather Shot, as you may have noticed, allows you to fire a spread of 3 feathers at your enemy. You can have up to 3 of them at once. So yeah, you can use it for basically filling the screen up with bullets as well as hitting foes that are just beneath you. This will be useful for one of the Wily stage bosses. You saw me using the Warp Shot over there. This is one of the stages where the Warp Shot is pretty useful. And also, here's where I use the Hurricane Burst in order to increase my jump height a little bit. And also one of the few useful uses of the Ember Man. There's Blue Breakman waiting for us. We just need to go next to him, and there we go. Suddenly the camera snaps and it's time to fight Blue Breakman. He fights exactly the same way as we fought him before, so just repeat the battle. Just don't get too overconfident and you'll survive. And by defeating him, we get up here and we get a lot of weapon energy pickups, as well as a life pickup. Yeah, look at all those small weapon energy pickups. I think the designer was thinking that this fight would be too difficult, although I question why he didn't do the same during Sludge Man's stage where we also fought him. Alright, here we fight Jolt Man, one of the more unique Robot Master battles, because, well, he moves around the room. After a while, he'll go to the bottom part, fire a Jolt Beam upwards. When he moves to the other side, or the left or right, he'll fire another Jolt Beam, top, another Jolt Beam at the bottom. When he's on the right, he'll fire a Jolt Beam to the left. Rinse and repeat. So he travels around the room in a clockwise pattern. In order to hurt him, you'll need to hit him when he's on the left and right sides, especially when he's sitting down. Now, you can actually destroy those bottom shock panels by using your Warp Shot as well as another weapon, and that makes the boss fight even simpler when he stays still. So yeah, down he goes. That was the 8 Robot Masters. Pretty simple and quick stages. So, in the next part, I'll be going after Dr. Wily. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!